Hello, my name is Erica Lynn McNeil, and this is my submission for the Sovereign Lands assignment for Anatomy and Physiology at Loyalist College. In this video, I'll be referencing the article Sovereign Lands provided for this assignment. I will be explaining the nature of the relationship between Indigenous people and the lands they live on, as well as how the land and environment affects the overall health of the population based on the reading. Indigenous people have a respect for the land they live on, as they respect one another, contrary to Western beliefs that are viewing land as a piece of property that is for their own personal and financial gain. The Indigenous view humans as caretakers of the world, to help nurture and care for. They believe that we as living beings on the earth are all equal in value. Indigenous people respect the understanding that for true peace and survival, it depends on how they interact with each other and everything around them that the world has to offer. It is a common practice in many communities, such as Dene and Inuit, where they feel a sense of interconnectedness with practicing and participating in more traditional harvesting activities, such as the article states, observing the animals and weather, praying for safe travel, and giving thanks for what is being harvested. The article mentions the story of the first three Inuit, how they are the three mountains of Nunavut. As the story goes, the giants were crossing the barren lands of the north in search of food when they slowly fell from starvation, which were later laid to rest, becoming the mountains, which they named our land in the Inuktitut language. Moving on to more of the environmental changes, the environment change is a great factor when it comes to Indigenous communities. As the national population grows, more specifically for the Indigenous nations, have experienced more disconnection from their land base. The article references the Mississauga First Nations community in Greater Toronto that has a much different competing interest for land use in their traditional territory as contrast to more remote northern communities. The article makes note that the southern communities have much greater concerns for urban sprawl, agricultural development, and recreational land use by non-Indigenous people, also contrasting the communities in the north, where they tend to have more extractive resource development. Local Indigenous populations have been seriously overwhelmed and impacted over the years by aggressive development of natural sources. Natural resources that include renewable resources like commercial fisheries and timber, as well as non-renewable resources such as oil, gas, coals, or other mineral mining. The primary concerns of many Indigenous communities, while receiving an overwhelming amount of new development applications, is the quality of the land's resources, such as water, availability for wildlife, and the ability for current and future generations to be able to continue exercising their treaty rights. Climate change is another threat that greatly impacts communities and wildlife year-round. With the winter becoming increasingly warm, it possesses a threat to the Indigenous communities that wait for the lake to freeze over to ensure safe passage across, where they can hunt, fish, and in the fall and spring, causing a shortage of food, which can be a major threat to the sustainability of the communities that greatly depend on it. The article also mentions that many Arctic communities experience great environmental impacts, such as the infrastructure challenges like the permafrost that supports the roads and buildings beginning to melt due to the temperature change. These changes in the environment also have an effect on the surrounding wildlife, such as an example of the barren ground caribou migration path changing, causing other species to also change their habits as well, such as the white-tailed deer, magpie bird, and many other various plants and animals. Overall, the relationship between the Indigenous peoples and the land is a quite complex idea with significant implications for their health and well-being. The land offers natural resources, cultural identity, and a sense of belonging, making it vital to the overall health and well-being of the Indigenous communities. However, Environmental changes present serious health risks to Indigenous communities, and as they proceed to stay resilient and adapt to the new conflicts and modern-day advancements posed against them, it leaves me to question, with all of these modern-day advancements, is there nothing that we can do to help sustain their view of life?